Hey guys. So, first order of business is to tell those of you who stumble across this video after the live event, what a big name, after I record this live video, that, dudes, I'm going to basically smoke a pipe. It's going to hang out and chat about this thing. So if you're looking for a succinct or super well organized hit on this point, go somewhere else. But if you're interested in hanging out, talking, smoking a pipe, fabulous. Even if it's not live. And you know what? I'll probably be interesting. All right. That's out of the way. What am I smoking? This looks highly illegal. This is Faria Porto. And it says it's the weak stuff. It ain't the weak stuff. This is the same rope tobacco I've been smoking for a little while now. It's dried out. I chopped it very fine. And now we're going to fill a bowl. It is very high in nicotine. All right. So I've been thinking for a little while. It's been like 10 days since I've done a video. I have several topics in mind, but you guys know I'm in the middle of a move. And things are crazy around here. The Lord is providing for us and caring for us. It's been crazy. You guys are probably hearing a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, rather. There is a storm in the offing. But sometimes, although usually it only takes me 15 minutes, it's kind of daunting to plan, film, and edit a video. I mean, you guys have seen the level of editing that goes into my videos. It does take a long time, but still, it's like a thing I have to do. So I just got this email from Patreon. I wanted to say something, so we're doing a live video. Man, how easy is that for me? Big Jake, welcome. Glad you're here. As soon as we can get out to Texas, I'm gonna let you know. Woo! All right, so everyone's freaking out about suggested cuts to the budget, saying things like, cut the amount of money I give to the war machine, but keep my funding for the arts, or changing their Facebook profiles to I love NPR, or whatever, right? The NEA is going to lose its funding. The arts nationally are going to lose their government funding. I don't think I have to point out to any of you the irony in having a company like Patreon try to spearhead a movement to protest that. Patreon, from my perspective, clearly not the perspective of its founder, Jack, what's his name? Jack from Pamplemousse. Jack Conti? Anyway, Jack. His vision is clearly not the same as mine or his company. He's the one that matters, but whoa, so blown away. It must be because he lives in California. Patreon is part of a long-needed movement to emancipate the arts from the government. Now, I remember in philosophy class and art history class in college, people sneering at the idea of patrons. That medieval or high Renaissance artists might have patrons. Would not only commission a work, but would actually sustain, pay the living of the person, of the artist. But people were doing that in the context of, where the government enters into the game of paying for art these days, completely depresses the prices and value of art, encourages moochers and leechers and people who are going to basically professional grant writers and grant fetchers. Crowdsourcing has been a huge blessing for the arts, a huge blessing for the arts. Not only is it a meritocracy, but it truly encourages local art. It not only allows an artist to project himself beyond, but it encourages a local community of art. Why? Because very legitimately, people's friends support the art of the artist. Hey, Wade, welcome. So the email I got was just kind of, a mass email from Patreon, encouraging people to use a certain hashtag and to participate in online protests of potential cuts to the arts. And I'm over here like, the government is ruining the arts. It's about time we emancipated ourselves. Thank you, Patreon, for allowing us to do that. One of the weird things about this for me, I grew up in a college town. I always considered myself a poet. I loved writing. Like in college, my job was at this bohemian coffee shop and bar where all the what would have been hipsters in the mid-90s hung out. My wife was a painter. She got her degree in fine arts, in painting, actually. Ooh, that looks like straight up hail. Those things are huge. Hey guys, huge hailstones falling. They look like snowballs. Yep. You guys are gonna have to allow for some disruption. This is a live video, but I think they're gonna want to see this. You see that, Mara?
It's raining ice.
Yep.
It's not cold.
Well, it's colder up high, right?
Yeah. It's coming all the way up.
Look, they hit the roof and they roll down like snowballs. Well, I'm gonna get back to my video so you guys can watch from somewhere else. Go to Renata's room or our room. Hey, girl. No, you can watch the hail if you wish. Now, scooch. Boink, boink. Whoa.
Could you do it somewhere else, Daddy? I think it's the window where I really want to.
Nope. I'm live right now. Okay. Man, you guys hear that pop? All right. Where was I? Emancipation. Art community. Right. Okay. So I've always been around artists. We've lived in several places. I've always been around artists. The interesting thing for us is that we've always been around both worldly and Christian artists. That's opening a whole other can of worms. Christian artists and what that means and what kind of art they make. Artists who are Christians, okay? Who, because by nature of being Christians, are different from other artists, right? Buddhist artists, worldly artists, whatever. All right, so depending on where we lived, we knew more. There are different ratios of these people. We live in the Bible Belt now. Here where we live, a ton of artists. There's a vibrant arts community here, especially visual arts and theater. Theater is less so this way here, but this is true of both these communities. like, I don't know personally. I'm just psyched. Like, I'm friends with a bunch of artists. All of my artist friends, and none of them are on the government team. They're all working for themselves, making a living one way or another, and things like Patreon are a part of that. The NEA and government involvement in the arts does the same thing that insurance companies do to the price of medicine. Okay? So, and of course, the state being involved in medicine is also ridiculous and it has the same effect. But the crisis in medicine, the price of medicine, because insurance companies get involved and the prices go way out of control. If there were simply the patient and medical professionals, prices would be lower. And you can actually see that already. Like, we've always negotiated with our doctors, tried to pay in cash. We pay way less than what insurance pays, and way less than what someone who doesn't negotiate pays. Way less. Okay? Co-ops are coming out. I read a story recently of this doctor who, like, he has a subscription service now, like Patreon. Yeah, the same thing happens with the arts. Okay, artists complain that they don't make enough money, and it's very difficult to make a living in the arts. But people are always going after government money and guilt tripping people for not supporting the arts. There's also this idea that making sellable art is selling out somehow. Now, that's up to the conscience of each artist. But if you're going to make art that's repulsive, don't expect to sell any. Okay? But that's where you find a patron, right? Bottom line is, an artist has to work like anyone else. But the NEA and the government provide at least the potential for not a golden parachute, but for this like perfect gig in the sky. And that warps the market. Just like anyone else, just like two carpenters compete for the same job, and one of them gets it, various factors, and you work to your strengths. It's the same with artists. Okay? For yourself, one way or another, by selling yourself. And you can make a living, even with the government being as intrusive into the arts as it is, by selling yourself to an institution, person. I don't mean selling yourself like selling out. I mean selling yourself like to a customer. Like, I am the man for this job. I am worth supporting. So again, I just find it super, super bizarre that Jack Conte and Patreon would throw their weight behind the government. Not surprised, but it's still bizarre and ironic. But for all of you artists who are making your way on your own, good on you. And may you have success. May you have great success. May your mom support you. May your cousin support you. May your friends support you. And may you grow to have many people who are impacted and by and love your art. May those people begin to support you. Yes, little girl. You'll have to watch the hail from our room, sweetness. Okay? All right, let's look at one of the comments here. Okay, this is a question about my wife. I've been houses and I've seen some beautiful, expensive murals. Has she given thought to something like that? She has actually painted murals in the past. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where Kimberly will go from here. Before we moved to Brazil, she was having a lot of success selling her paintings. Last few years, she's been doing these fabric collages that she then paints over, which are awesome. expressive, beautiful, vibrant. I hope she continues with that, but I'm also interested to see where she goes from here. But the point is that she sells herself, right? And if all artists did that, there would actually be more success for the artistic community. But it's like what's happening in music. Okay, it is so easy these days to find really good music, and popular music has taken a nosedive in quality. Why? Because it used to be difficult to find good local musicians, good musicians in Cleveland or in Alaska, and now it's easy. So there's just basically now a lot more musicians can make a living. But the record companies are making less money, and there are fewer musicians, these immense, huge livings, right? Say someone like Sting. Okay, Sting is an example of someone who probably wouldn't have made it big. The Police and Sting probably wouldn't have made it big these days, right? They would have had, a drive-by truckers type following in their region and with people who like their kind of music around the world. That's wonderful, right? So now we have so many musicians making livings. They have to tour, they have to sell themselves. But, basically the old troubadour model is back. And how I wish the old patron model would come back for visual artists and for other artists. All right, so that's my rant. I'm gonna smoke my pipe now and hang out with you guys. Get. Hello to Germany. Thanks for dropping by, Herman. One second. Hey, baby. It's cool, huh? You want to come out and say hi to everyone? We're live. I was talking about the arts. About Patreon. Patreon is freaking out because people are feeling like the NEA is threatened and like federal funding for the arts is threatened. Is it well? Yeah, for them it's like a point of like it's an ethical thing. It's like what is right. Artists should receive government money, but like they're actually a tool to get away from that. Blows my mind. I love it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Wade thinks you should paint murals.
It's like I want to paint murals. Actually, I thought about that. It's like Medicaid. Like it's like the NEA is like a Medicaid for artists.
Bam! Oh snap! I said something similar, but you put it better.
Except they always are hiring these expensive artists who are.
But they're expensive for the same. Like I was talking about medical insurance. They're expensive for the same reason that the insurance warps the prices of medical services. They make a living off the government, and then they make their fame, and then they can jack up their prices, but they're not dependent.
No, there's half of the ones who get it they already are established. They don't even need the government. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're, whatever.
We need to learn to write grants, baby. Let's get on that teat. She doesn't like the word teat. Don't ask me how I know.
It's a little crude. Okay, I'm going to go finish making dinner.
Okay, bye, baby. Chris, thank you. It's good to be back in the States. Bruna Leshke and the Renaissance artists, paid and supported. Exactly right. Exactly. And I love this crowdsourcing thing, but there are so many different ways to be an artist. And part of the rationale with government funding for the arts, I think, is to open it up for everybody, right? Because traditionally the arts have been the purview, the domain, I should say, of the wealthy, right? In 1700, to write poetry or paint a landscape, the wealthy only. Everyone else is living hand to mouth. That hasn't changed much. We just happen to be a hyper-wealthy country, right? Historically, our poorest live like kings, okay? I'm not saying there aren't any social injustices to be remedied, blah, blah, whatever, but most of us can now choose the life of a noble that only a nobleman could have had access to 300 years ago. Now, there's nothing wrong with, for example, you want to be an artist. Maybe your spouse is going to have to be a successful engineer, right? Pay most of the bills. This is kind of how it is. I mean, art, kind of by nature, is a leisure craft. Not leisure as in it's supposed to be relaxing, but producing beauty does not have a directly correlative relationship with money, food gained back, right? You exert a day's worth of work in a field, you exert a day's worth of work building a bridge, you exert a day's worth of work counting money, you get a certain return. You exert a day's worth of work producing beauty, we should not expect to have that return, okay? I think a lot of people feel a sense of injustice, but it's always been that way. Our desire as a society should be to facilitate the creation of beauty, and government is not the way to do that. Society is. Us, the people. We should be this. And this goes then into the role of the church with the arts, right? I mean, churches should be proud to have a musician on staff, not a worship leader, a musician, right? We pay this guy to compose beautiful hymns and psalms. We pay this guy to train musicians. We pay this guy to play music. He's a resident artist. He's a resident artist, and we want him to make beautiful things. Man, this is one of my highest horses. Chris, farewell. It's, I mean, you're probably gone by now, but the video's almost over. I'm just gonna smoke and hang out with you guys a little bit now. We're having tacos tonight, and in order to keep his mother from crying, little Joffrey diced the onion for her without, like, beforehand, without her asking. So she almost cried anyway. It was a sweet thing to do. So yeah, we're gonna have tacos, which is a family favorite. Somewhere in my suitcase, because I'm still living out of suitcases, there's the rest of my Brazilian tobacco. I have to bring that out. Start sampling them for you guys. All right, guys. I hope this video has been interesting, enlightening. I would love for you guys to comment. Tell me what you think of what I said about Patreon and the NEA and blah, blah. My wife's comments. She's a sassy wench. Anything else you want to say? And don't forget to support me on Patreon. Joffrey the Giant. All right. Peace of Christ be with you.